Disney Plus has finally launched. Well, okay, I'm recording this on Monday, the day before its official release, so I haven't had a chance to futz around with everything that it offers. Also, I haven't pre-ordered it yet because the bundle that comes with Hulu and ESPN isn't available until Tuesday. Bastards. But we're now officially in the streaming wars of 2019. I've said before that I'm going to be getting Disney Plus at launch, mainly for The Mandalorian and every episode of Kim Possible. That said, I am looking forward to all the future Marvel shows that they're gonna have. But in a video I made a few weeks ago, I said that if you're only interested in Disney Plus for the Marvel content, you might wanna wait a little bit. At launch, we're only gonna get a handful of the Marvel movies, a whole bunch of old cartoons, and none of the new promised TV shows. These new shows, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Loki, and Hawkeye, aren't coming out until next year. But when they do come out, you might want to subscribe to see these shows as soon as possible. Because apparently these shows, and I guess any future Marvel TV shows that are going to be on Disney Plus, will be extremely important to future films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And here is why that sucks. So, some background. Starting next year, Marvel will be releasing brand new television shows set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They will live on Disney Plus and they will feature actors from the movies reprising their roles for these new shows. Things kick off in the fall with The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, seeing the return of Anthony Mackie as the Falcon and Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, no longer featuring his iconic long hair. Yeah, I get it. Next, we get WandaVision, the Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, Scarlet Witch Vision hybrid show. Then we're gonna get Loki, seeing Tom Hiddleston play Loki again, and Hawkeye, where Jeremy Renner passes the torch onto somebody who's gonna be playing Kate Bishop. In addition to these, we're also getting shows with new characters like Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk. All of these under the purview of Kevin Feige, and all confirmed to be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's also going to be the What If animated series, but since this is a non-canon anthology show, it doesn't really apply to what we're going to be talking about today. Still really cool though. Now, as cool as it is that we're getting these shows and that they're going to feature actors from the movies reprising their roles, the big selling point is, of course, that connection to the movies, the fact that they're going to be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. See, this isn't the first time Marvel has promised that the TV shows they make are going to connect to the movies. There were, of course, the shows that aired on ABC, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, Agent Carter, that shitty-ass Inhumans TV show. Of course, there were the Netflix shows, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, The Punisher. All of these series were pitched to us as being connected to the MCU. But as time went on, that connection started to feel tangential at best. Also, I think Runaways and Cloak and Dagger are also supposed to be part of the MCU. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure someone's gonna correct me in the comments. And the relationship between the Netflix shows in particular and the Marvel movies has always been very bizarre. References between the two were very few and far between. The movies just flat out never referenced the Netflix shows, and the Netflix shows would very rarely reference characters from the movies directly, either describing their costume, their weapon, or like vaguely talking about an event that happened.
Maybe if he had an iron suit or a magic hammer, that would explain why you keep getting your asses handed to you.
And while all the shows took place in New York post-Chitauri invasion, they never really referenced the Chitauri invasion. They either call it the incident or the Battle of New York, never the Chitauri invasion or the time the Avengers came to help us. Now, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter had more direct connections to the films. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in particular is a direct spin-off from the first Avengers movie. Agent Coulson was the main character, going from movies to TV. We had cameos from other movie characters like Maria Hill, Lady Sif, and even Nick Fury in a couple of episodes. And certain episodes directly referenced either upcoming movies or movies that had just happened. Same thing with Agent Carter. Peggy Carter moved from big screen to small screen. Howard Stark showed up in a couple of episodes. And not only did this series follow from Captain America: The First Avenger, but also the Agent Carter short film that was on the Iron Man 3 DVD. And Inhumans was a spin-off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, so I guess that makes it all connected, but again, that show sucks. Moving on. Now, these shows definitely had a more direct connection to the movies compared to the Netflix shows, but that relationship was definitely one-sided. The shows reference the movies all the time, but the movies almost never reference the shows. The biggest reference the movies made towards the shows was in Avengers Endgame, where James Darcy reprised his role from Agent Carter as Edwin Jarvis. Other than that, it's almost like the movies didn't think the shows existed. Now, there were a lot of different reasons for this. There was, of course, the logistical nightmare of just trying to get all of these different productions to sync up together. There was the fact that Kevin Feige's Marvel Studios didn't really play well with Jeff Loeb's Marvel Television. Actually, those are the two main reasons. On the one hand, this was kind of disappointing. I mean, Marvel themselves did hype up the interconnectivity between the movies and the TV shows. To not really see it play out in any real significant way is kind of a bummer. On the other hand, this wound up not really being a bad thing, because really, it's hard enough keeping track of all the movies on their own. You throw TV shows into the mix, and it just adds to the confusion and makes everything that much harder to follow. I mean, I have a hard time keeping track of one TV show, let alone roughly 10 that are supposedly interconnected and spread across different TV channels and streaming services. But now that all seems like it's a thing of the past. Kevin Feige is now in control of all of Marvel, it seems, and these upcoming Disney Plus shows are going to be under his watchful eye. So that means that not only are they connected to the MCU via the actors, but they're connected to the MCU via the storylines as well. And I don't just mean that characters are going to reference events in Avengers Endgame or anything like that. It's already been confirmed that the plots of WandaVision and Loki are going to tie directly into the upcoming Doctor Strange sequel in the Multiverse of Madness. Not only that, but Elizabeth Olsen is going to reprise her role of Scarlet Witch in Doctor Strange 2, and the events of WandaVision are going to directly affect how her character is in that movie. And She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel, and Moon Knight are going to become very important characters. Although they're debuting on Disney Plus, it's already been confirmed that they're going to appear in future movies, maybe even get their own solo movie in addition to whatever Avengers film they cameo in. The bottom line is, moving forward, if you want to know everything that's happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I do mean everything, you're gonna have to watch these shows, and that means you're gonna have to subscribe to Disney Plus. And this sucks. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not totally into this idea. It's not so much the subscribing to a whole nother platform just to understand what's going on with characters I like, although that is a factor. But like, this is straight up homework. Before you go to the movie theater to see the next Marvel movie, you're gonna have to stay home first and do your research. Now, sure, the Marvel movies are not exactly strangers to this concept. Many times, especially with the Avengers movies, in order to understand what's going on in them, you will need to have seen at least 2 or 3 other films to get the entire picture. This has honestly always been kind of a problem with this series. Hell, I made 2 videos trying to highlight which films you actually need to see in order to see movies like Infinity War and Endgame. You don't need to see them all, but the fact that I had to make a video explaining which ones you had to see kind of illustrates my point. But at least when it came to the movies, that sort of made sense. You just follow the Marvel Cinematic Universe like one big movie franchise like you would any other, like Star Wars or James Bond or whatever. Sure, you might not be able to see every single one of them, but you would see enough to get the gist of what's going on from film to film. But when you start adding TV shows to the mix, that just adds another barrier of entry that most people are just not going to want to commit to. Because most people are not like you and me. They don't follow these films like it's a religion. They just go see these movies like they were regular old movies. So pretend you're them for a second. Pretend that you're your mom. You go and you see one of these Marvel movies, you've seen a couple of them here and there, but you're seeing the new one, and then all of a sudden, Moon Knight shows up. Now you're like, who's that guy? I don't remember him from the other ones. Is this his debut? What's his deal? Do I need to know who he is? In a way, it's kind of insulting. You're punishing the audience member for not being a dedicated enough fan. If they were dedicated, then they would do their research. If they were dedicated enough, then they would go and subscribe to Disney Plus for $6.99 a month to know who these characters are and what the plot is. Now, Marvel may currently be the kings of interconnected cinema, but they are by no means the first people to try and do interconnected mass media. Others have tried to connect movies with other entertainment mediums to various degrees of success. Cast your mind back now to 2003 with The Matrix Reloaded. This was a movie that would not make a whole lot of sense plot-wise unless you saw the ANIMATRIX, a collection of short anime films that explain things like what the Osiris crew was doing, and who that kid is that keeps bugging Neo. And I sure hope you played Enter the Matrix on PS2, GameCube, and Xbox, otherwise you would have no idea why the hell Jada Pinkett Smith keeps popping up randomly throughout the course of The Matrix Reloaded. That game explains her entire character's purpose. I played the game, it's alright. Don't try playing it now though, it does not hold up. Hell, I'm experiencing this kind of thing right now with Watchmen. That show is a direct sequel to the comic book. Now, of course, I've read the comic about 1,000,000 times, so I get all the weird little eccentricities of the world, but my wife, for example, has only read it once many years ago and doesn't remember a whole lot. So I've had to pause the show to explain things like Vietnam is now a state in this universe. Robert Redford is the president. Jeremy Irons is playing Ozymandias, who is the villain of the comic book, and that's not the same character as Dr. Manhattan. Dr. Manhattan is the blue guy with his dick out. But it's more than just the people who don't follow this stuff regularly who can get overwhelmed. I mean, I'm starting to feel overwhelmed and these shows aren't even out yet. Because watching a movie every 4 months or so, that's one thing. Watching a television show week to week, and then another one, and then another one, and then a movie that follows up on it, rinse and repeat, that's a lot to ask for. That's part of the reason why I stopped watching all the Netflix Marvel shows. It was just too much to keep track of. Now, as of this moment, we don't really know the extent of this interconnectivity. For all we know, in the movie, it could just be a simple line of dialogue that explains where the character had been all this time, or why their hair is different. Something like that, something that doesn't really shape the overall plot of the film. But from the sounds of it, it sounds like they're going for full interconnectivity. Plots will bleed over from show to film and vice versa. It's going to change the dynamic between the two from fun addition to essential requirement. This isn't like understanding a fun little Easter egg if you read the comics. This isn't like the time Jeremy Irons made reference to exploding wind-up penguins in Justice League. This would be like the scene from Batman vs Superman where Batman walks into a post-apocalyptic wasteland with Omega symbols and parademons surrounding him. That was a major scene that ultimately made no sense and held no greater meaning unless you knew who Darkseid is and what he brings to the table. Movies work best when they can stand on their own, when you can watch it and only it and understand everything that's happening within the context of the film's story. There are, of course, exceptions to this rule, especially with regards to sequels, but even then, some of the best sequels don't require you to have seen the previous entry in order to understand what's going on in their film. They are completely standalone. And if they do directly reference a previous film in the series, then a good sequel should do a good enough job to get the audience up to speed, even if they haven't seen the previous film. But to require additional material in order to understand what's happening in your movie, to require that the audience go out and watch a show or read a book or play a video game in order to understand this movie's plot, I'm sorry, then that's just homework. And nobody likes homework. Teachers don't even like homework. They only give it because it's their job. I'll be honest, initially I wasn't gonna watch every single MCU show on Disney+. I thought I could probably skip a few, like Loki and She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel, only focus on the ones I was actually interested in, like Falcon and Winter Soldier and Moon Knight and Hawkeye. But now I feel like I have to watch it all, not just for this channel, but so I can understand the upcoming movies better. But if I'm being forced to watch a show that I necessarily don't want to, then I'm probably not going to enjoy that show all that much. And in turn, I'm probably not going to enjoy the movie that it ties directly into. And I get the feeling that a lot of people are gonna feel the exact same way. But how do you feel about this new connection between the Disney Plus Marvel shows and upcoming Marvel movies? Are you excited for it? Do you think it'll lead to great new stories, or do you think it'll just be too much for one person to take in? Let me know down below or anywhere on the internet. And of course, don't forget that here at the Wulff Den, we have new videos every Tuesday and Wednesday, with Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern being Wulff Den Live. So subscribe to see all of that. Like this video and share it with a friend who's on the verge of becoming the Pepe Silvio meme from Always Sunny, with trying to keep all these different Marvel movies and TV shows connected. You know the meme I'm talking about. I feel like we're all gonna turn into that, trying to keep everything straight. Thank you all for watching. I will see you next time.